I have the Syntech 2-in-1 link cable. Now this is a USB cable. It's going to work with any Quest headset or the Pico 4. It's going to be absolutely fine. It's 2-in-1 because it does have an adapter, so you can run it through to a USB Type A, so USB 3 on your PC, or to USB Type C as well. So that's kind of good. That's why it's 2-in-1. So you get an adapter, and it'll work either way. It doesn't really matter. The bandwidth is irrelevant on a USB Type C or USB Type A 3.0. It's going to be absolutely fine. It's actually a pretty decent cable for flexibility, which is good to see. Now, not all these types of cables are as flexible as this, and they can be a little bit stiff, and having something which is nice and bendy is actually good for a couple of reasons. First thing, when you have a cable dragging around and you're turning it around, you're twisting it up, it means it won't tighten up too much because it has a lot of flexibility, so that's good. And the other thing I do like about it is, okay, Syntech 2-in-1 link cable, take two, after my cat disturbed me there. Anyway, as I was saying, the other thing which is good about having a flexible cable is when we plug it into the headset, it means it's putting very little stress on the actual socket itself, which is obviously important. And when we put it on there, you can see it's very bendy. I've used a lot of these link cables before where they're super stiff, and I really don't like how it feels like they're straining it, but here it's just very bendy. It does come with this Velcro strap on the side, so you just wrap it around the arm for a little bit more, obviously, security. However, I would suggest and recommend is you invest in something like this, which is just a silicone band, like a cable tidy. Show you the brands, if I can show you there. It might not show up, I'll put something on screen, but these are very useful silicone cable tidies. And the reason why these are so much better is because they're just rubbery. They just hold in place with a lot more sort of security, and so I prefer using these. So I'm just going to put it on just loosely on there. Obviously it's not quite perfect, but as you can see, it holds in place really well, and it just protects the cable from ripping free. So that's the way I like to attach any cable to the side of my headset. This cable is 16 foot in length. I have already tested it extensively in some PC VR gaming, and I can tell you I had no issues whatsoever. It just works as it's supposed to, doing the job it's meant to do. No disconnections, and very happy with its performance. No problems whatsoever, and yeah, it's very well made. You can see all these parts are nice and sturdy, so everything is well made here. So on that basis, I could certainly recommend it for its job. There is something you do need to know about using one of these link cables, regardless if it's this one or any other brand. It makes no difference. Is the port on the PC can supply a certain amount of power output, which can support the headset a bit, but not fully. So when you are running PC VR games, the battery will drain over time. It's inevitable. There's nothing you can do about it. It will be a little bit more gameplay than it would be if it's just running off the battery alone, but bear in mind it's still going to run down. You can't avoid it using this type of cable. However, there's something quite interesting, at least on their product page. They mentioned that if you run it over a Thunderbolt 4 connection from your computer, some motherboards have it, more high-end ones, or you can get a add-in card. Potentially you can fit that into your motherboard, and that supplies more power. And they do state that you can play and it should sustain the power on the headset. Now I did test this because I do have a Thunderbolt card installed on my PC. I have this one. So I tested it, guys, and I can tell you, at least on the Quest 3, it wasn't able to achieve that. Because it is a power hungry headset compared to say the Quest 2 or the Quest 1 or Pico 4, it's still not enough power being pulled through this cable over Thunderbolt 4, although technically Thunderbolt 4 should be able to support it. However, this cable, I think, due to its length and also the resistance of the cable, it wasn't doing such a great job. It's better than nothing, and it drew about an extra watt, I'd say. So it's about 4 watts over USB 3. Over Thunderbolt is only able to draw about 5 watts, just over 5 watts. Now I did some tests, and the reason I was able to test this because I have one of these little gizmos here. And this basically just shows you how much power is being pulled through the cable. So I'm going to show you some videos next, and I did some tests just over this cable over USB 3.0. and over just USB-C, and also when it was connected to this card here as well. So you can see the results in a moment. The other thing I did do, which I have, which is kind of handy to have, is I have one of these original Meta expensive link cables, ones which no one really wants to buy since they are like stupidly expensive. However, this does a better job. It has less resistance over the same sort of length of distance of the cable. So it's 5 meters. I think 16 foot is about 5 meters as well. And this does a much better job. So that's the context of what you're going to see next. I will label what the tests are, and then we'll discuss it in a moment. Okay, so through those results, you could see that the Syntech was doing better over Thunderbolt than it was over USB-C or 3.0. However, it was lagging behind the Meta cable over Thunderbolt by about 4 watts, which was quite a lot of power that this was not able to pull out, since I think the resistance of the cable is holding it back. So that's kind of interesting. And the Syntech, at least on the Quest 3, wasn't able to sustain my Quest 3 battery. However, I can tell you that this cable does at 80 hertz, so 80 frames per second. I didn't try at 90 or 120. I was playing games at basically 80 hertz, and it was absolutely fine, and I was happy with the gameplay and everything else. So yes, with the Oculus Meta cable over Thunderbolt, it can sustain your headset completely. The Syntech cannot. Okay, so maybe on a Quest 2, Pico 4, over the Thunderbolt connection, the Syntech cable will probably have better luck with, keeping up, since they are lower powered headsets. They don't use as much power as the Quest 3. So, and I only did my test on the Quest 3, and I'm sure if I did try it on the Quest 2, the results would be better. There's no doubt about that. Whether or not it can keep up, I honestly don't know, but since on their Amazon product page they mentioned Thunderbolt 4, and I have a Thunderbolt expansion card, it is worth testing, and I thought I'd give you those results. So yeah, a slightly longer video for just the link cable guys, but I wanted to test it thoroughly and give you the information there. So hopefully that's something you can use and take with you. But there you go, guys. That's my review for the Syntech 2-in-1 link cable. But largely a decent cable, but slightly held back by, I guess, the resistance of the cable over the more expensive Meta cable. But for bandwidth, it's just fine, and it is a good quality, well-made cable. So the positives and some negatives there to take away from this one. But hopefully you found it useful. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next one. Take it easy, and bye-bye for now.